The final results of the Emojiless experiment, bizarre dating app niches, and date stalking. How far is too far before you meet up with your new date? We'll see you right after this. G'day and welcome to the Tinder Project, the podcast where a straight Aussie man attempts to survive 365 days dating online as an American woman. I'm your host, Mark Rosenfeld, Australia's dating coach for women. I'm here with my sidekick, self-love coach, Teal Elisabeth, and together we have one mission: to make meeting good men fun and easy for you. Let's give it a whirl. Teal!
Mark!
I hear you have a bump.
The baby's bumping. She's
Hey.
bumping along. It's exciting.
Congratulations. You have a bump. We got a new dryer.
I think I win on excitingness here. Although a dryer is exciting, I will say. I just got a new stove, and it is very exciting to have a new
A
appliance.
stove and a bump beats a dryer for sure. No, I have to say I was very impressed with this because the gentleman who brought the dryer in had some quite tricky stairs to navigate. They had to go up a couple of flights. The stairs are quite high. These guys were phenomenal. They had this strap thing that they basically put over their shoulders, and they just took this dryer through, didn't hit the painting, took it around the corner. These guys were magic. I was very impressed here.
They did the same thing with the stove.
Did they?
Some sort of physics thing with their leverage of the weight so that it doesn't break their back. Genius. Yeah.
Is your stove upstairs?
No, but there's a couple steps, and it's just a long way from the delivery truck to the kitchen. So, yeah.
Well,
But that's impressive.
should we get onto the
around
actual?
navigating-
Should we get onto the topic of the day, Teal?
Yes, I want to hear. I want to
Alright.
hear your emojiless challenge. How that's
It's
going.
finished.
It's finished. You must be so relieved.
It's complete. I feel like I grew as a human. I expanded my feelings vocabulary for the month. I am a little relieved to have access to emojis back, but you know what? I think there'll probably be 20% less emojis moving forwards and a little more feeling words, because I've enjoyed just seeing how we can actually get energy and maybe it's not quite the same peaks in certain messages as what I would read it as if I was just reading the text. But overall, I have to say the results are pretty convincing. So why don't I show you these? You want to see? All right. I'm going to go ahead and let me show you here. So can you see my screen? Lovely too.
Yep.
Okay, for those listening, we have the Tinder Project Days 31 to 130 results. So it's 3 months of Tinder Project. Now, why is it 31 to 130? Because we always add a few days on the end so that the guys we match in the last couple of days can basically flow through the system and turn into dates. So we have the last 3 months in front of us. August was a month where we kind of did the standard thing. September was when we stopped opening any conversation. So we just let the guys come to us. And in October, at Teal's request, we did go back to opening some conversations. However, we were not using emojis the whole month. So the big results, overall, we got virtually the same amount of dates. It's very exciting.
Wow.
In August, we had 13. Yep. In September, we had 12. Remember, I'm doing 20 minutes a day, once a day. And in October, we also had 12. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So both your approach and my approach work, basically.
It seems so. It seems very much so. I was a little doubtful. I was a little skeptical. Now, I will say that in the second last column, for those who are listening, we had the number of times we gave our phone number out. So in the last 3 months, August was 16, September was 18, and this month, as in October moving through into November, was 13. So we did have about 25% less times giving our number out, which usually indicates we had fewer conversations that went the distance. But interestingly, when we did give our number out, we had almost 100% of them actually turn into a phone call. So for example, in the previous month, we gave our number out 18 times, but we only had 12 of them turn into a phone call. This month, we gave our number out only 13 times, which indicates there wasn't quite as many conversations flowing, but it seems those that did converted nonetheless. So that's exciting.
That's
Teal.
super fascinating. Okay, you might be converting me to numbers. I'm getting really all nerdy on this. I
Oh.
think these are just really interesting data statistics, and just getting to actually use science and math in feelings of love. It's kind of a cool combo hybrid here.
I've loosely considered going back, and I may have to have the VA do this because I'm not sure I'll get the chance, and just going through and actually counting how many feelings words were in these conversations compared to previous months. So comb through those conversations. But no, it was interesting overall. It really did. I have to say, it felt like a little bit more work for me because I think typically I'm in my head like a lot of people, probably like a lot of our listeners, and accessing the feeling as opposed to showing it with an emoji, it did feel a little bit more effortful. I had to really stop and go, okay, how does that make me feel? I had to be super conscious of adding those feelings in. And in terms of total conversations, it looks like we had what, 32 in August, 33 in September, 29. So we had a few less conversations. And yeah, fewer of them led to a phone number drop. So 33 led to 18 in September, 29, almost as many only led to 13 this month. But yeah, like I say, it seems like the 13 that we did get converted into 12 phone calls pretty effectively. We didn't get too many that basically bailed, which means they're solid invested guys. They're following through, essentially.
Well, and can I also highlight something for the ladies listening? This is 12 solid, somewhat highly invested guys who are willing to get off the apps and have a genuine phone call. 12 in a month. 12 high-quality men in a month. Consistently over August, September, and October, 12 new high-quality men every single month. And I think that's something even more worth highlighting. That if anyone is having a trouble getting onto those phone calls or even feeling like there's any worthwhile guys that aren't just on there to catfish or just dick around, like this really shows there are good men that actually want to create a relationship. So I think that's huge.
They are there. They are absolutely there. I love that you mentioned that, Teal. And another thing I'll point out, guys, just a small strategic thing, but as I was saying earlier, if you match it with a guy, at least for me, if I've been matching with a guy on day 29 or 30 of the experiment, I usually give it a few extra days where I'm not doing any more matching for those last few guys to flow through the funnel. But that also means in those first few days, there are very few. Let's say you go on an app day one, you're not going to have dates for those first 4 or 5 days. And I think a lot of women that I meet, I see you guys often, not always, but often, you log online and do a few days, and then it's very disappointing. I check the numbers, and only one of these months did I have a date in the first 5 days. Only one of the months. As in, it took me 6 days in 2 out of the 3 months to get a date. So even though I'm averaging, 3 a week here, the first week is a kind of latency period where you'll only likely be getting a date or two by the end of that week. Now, if you go on multiple times a day, you can probably speed that up. But I'm only going on once a day, so keep that in mind. If you're only going on once a day like me, those first 5 or 6 days, which I think are the most demoralizing for a lot of people, I'm not even getting dates in those first 5 or 6 days. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind when you sort of go on for 3-4 days and think nothing's working. It's brewing. It's on its way.
Yes, love that. Love that. That's a really good point to end on. Fabulous. Well, thank you, Mark, for taking the time to put all that together and just dissect it into something very tangible for us to go, cool.
You're so welcome. I do have a slight negative for the day. I said, you know what we're going to do this month? We're going to have a single mum. It's going to be single mum time. So I switched the profile around to be a single mum. And unfortunately, Tinder went ahead and figured me out. And I have been officially banned from Tinder. So...
Uh-oh.
It's okay. There's many other dating apps. Bumble was there to save us, and we've got a few others in the backlog just in case Bumble smarts up as well. So no need to worry about the project. However, yeah, I've moved the single mum stuff over to Bumble. We're going to be doing that. And then actually this segues quite well. I wanted to talk to you about some of the bizarre dating apps because I thought in the second half of the Tinder project as we could move towards the end of the year, I kind of want to test some of these, Teal. And I thought maybe I'd run some by you today and we can figure out which sounds the most fun to kind of test. I know you've heard of a few. So here's what I've got. We've got a couple that are a little more normal. We've got Thursday. Now, Thursday would be a tricky one to test because Thursday is an app where essentially you meet with people every Thursday and then they kind of switch the app off during the week and it basically leads to real life dates on the weekend. So that's kind of an interesting concept for those of you out there who have tried it. Maybe leave us a comment. That one I can't really test. Happen is a dating app that's purely on geographical location. If you pass someone, you will have more dates. That could be an issue at the moment because I'm not leaving the house very often as a new parent. But that's a little more on the normal side. Now, where we've got some interesting ones, and I know you had a couple of these. We've got Tall Friends, which for any of the ladies out there who are, over 5'9", 5'10", that might be your dating app. How tall are you?
I'm 5'9", yeah.
You're 5'9".
Yeah. I know, I guess we've never met in person. You don't know how tall I am.
Sam is, I think, 5'8.5". She's somewhere around that 5'8.5", 5'9". And yeah, she's taller than me in heels, which
In heels.
I don't think she's a huge fan of. But I'm okay with it. I feel like I'm I'm dating a model or something here, which is taller than me. I'm okay with it. We've got tall friends. We've got several that match based on food. Have you seen these?
No, I didn't know there were all these new apps out. This is super interesting. I'm
We've
so
got-
out of the loop. Oh my gosh.
We've got the very creatively named gluten-free dating.
Oh, wow.
I wonder what that one's all about,
That's amazing that there are enough people in the world now that are gluten-free that they can actually make a whole app around it.
Dude, some of these, they have sizzle, which is for bacon lovers. And people are mashed on how you like your bacon.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. You're going to make my cough worse. I'm going to laugh so hard. This is hilarious.
I kind of want to test sizzle for a month, though, and just kind of see what happens there.
Okay, wow. That actually probably covers about the majority of the population. But
That's true. That one doesn't narrow down much, does it? We've got salad match, which is for, I believe is it vegetarian vegans? Let me double check this.
How funny. Oh
Salad
my gosh.
match.
People are getting
Salad match
creative.
proves online dating is a strange place. That's Huffington Post. Where's actual salad match website? X salad match. Ready to meet your soulmate? What does this say? Hang on, get out of here.
I would say though, because some people that are vegan or vegetarian that's a big value for them. It's a big lifestyle for them, and I think that actually is a really good way to be able to weed people out. Mm-hmm.
Totally. I feel you on that one. We've got farmers only, which is just for farmers. That was an interesting one I came across. You're rural. You want someone who's rural. I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I could see that. We've got Bristler. Now, this was interesting, and I do believe I want to have a test of this one, even if it's just a week. Bristler is only for women who want to date men with a beard.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. Wow.
I'm just imagining, remember a few weeks ago we had those Indian women who had the huge beard protest? I'm just imagining how much this would trigger them and how unhappy they would be about this app.
No beard.
It's for those with beards and those who like to stroke them, I believe is the catchphrase.
Okay. That weirds me out a little, but okay.
Do you like to stroke Spencer's beard too?
No, not at all.
You don't?
No.
We wouldn't find you on Bristler?
No.
No?
And the longer the beard, no. Keep that thing in check, please.
I am getting very excited. I've seen some early news. Tangent here. We are starting to get word of who will be Dumbledore in the HBO Harry Potter series.
Oh boy.
We're starting to receive word. And
Well,
it will
better
not
start
be...
growing that beard.
There were rumors it would be the original actor's son, as in the Dumbledore in the first two movies. There were rumors it would be his son, who is quite a well-known actor within his own right. He was the guy, I don't know if you've seen the series Chernobyl. He was the good guy. That was a cool series. Anyway, speaking of beards, they're casting for Dumbledore, and next year they're casting for Ron, Harry, and Hermione.
Oh
That
my
is
gosh.
That is going to be exciting.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
What else we got here? We've got... the other ones I found were around animals. So we've got Equestrian Cupid, which is basically for people who like horses. Now, I went to vet school. Horse people, I'm right here. You guys have a thing of your own.
Yes,
there.
there
It's
are
like,
horse people. Yes.
There are horse people.
There are horse people, 100%.
There is a dating app for you all now.
Just for
It's
you.
called Equestrian Cupid. If you match on nothing else, you can at least find a fellow horse person to hang out with. And you know what? You're probably happy with that if I know what you are like. So good for you. And then finally, Tindog. Tindog. Tindog just... I don't think it even shows the owner. You just find a dog that you like the look of and match with the dog, and then your dog meets their dog, and you hope that the owner's attractive.
Stop.
That's it. That's the...
Okay, I'm just imagining all these like nerdy engineers in San Francisco just sitting around a boardroom being like, what's the weirdest app I could create right now? Let's just see if this works. Wow.
Tindog is a social dating app that aims to connect dog owners. By filtering distance, interests, and other categories, you'll be able to find dogs in your area and information about their owners.
I
Isn't
will
that
say,
great?
I do have a little theory about people and their dogs, that the people that the dogs tend to look and act a lot like their owners, or vice versa. Have
Really?
you ever noticed this?
I mean, I've seen photos where people say people look like their dogs, and they have, a big guy with a big bald head and a French bulldog next to him, and it's sort of doing the side by side. But is it actually a thing? I guess
I
animals can
mean,
pick up owners' emotions and habits and stress. So, is that what you mean?
I kind of think it is. I think
You think it is?
subconsciously we pick animals that we feel comfortable around. And if we're more anxious, then we're going to feel more anxious with an anxious dog. I don't know. I think there's a correlation. Might be a cool test to do.
So, okay, following on from this,
Oh,
why
so yeah.
do why
So,
do
we
more?
could go on to that tin dog and just do an experiment on that of how many of the owners end up
Are actually
matching with
anxious?
their dogs.
I want to jump on what you just said a second ago that we get animals that are like us. So, how do you then say or explain women tend in general to have cats more often and men tend to have dogs more often? Is there a behavioral reason for this? And if so, what do you believe it to be, Tim?
Do you really actually know that to be true, or is
Yeah.
that just your perspective?
Yeah. I mean, I can check the stats, but I checked them a while back, and typically single men are more likely to own a dog than a cat, and vice versa for women.
That is very interesting. And what would that mean about them?
Yeah, what does that say about the people who are buying? Because I don't think it's an accident that men tend to buy dogs a little more often. I have a cat, so I'm on the opposite side
And I
of
have a
this one.
dog.
And you have
And
a
I've
dog.
never had cats.
You've
Yeah.
never had cats. I grew up with both. I've always been an animal person. I should go into the whole story of how I became such an animal person. Animals are actually where I could really express myself as a kid, and that was where I felt the most safest. So I've always had a very close connection with animals. Obviously, I got a veterinary degree, so that was a big part of it. But I do think that there's an element of, since men typically lean back a little bit more, and in the average dynamic, I know it can switch, but typically you'll see more often a woman being the anxious leaning individual attachment wise and the man being the avoidant leaning. And biologically, to me, that makes sense. You think of the biological burden and energy investment of pregnancy. It makes sense that the woman's going to value that bond, while the man needs to make sure he has the freedom to collect the resources to support the child and have that bond. So I think there's a strong biological precedent there. I do think that dogs tend to be more anxious. And so for the men who like to, I suppose, have love come to them, it to me makes a little more sense that men go,
Interesting.
okay, for the more anxious. I could be talking,
And
out of
cats
my
are more
ass here.
avoidant, and so the women are like,
Cats,
wait,
cats
give
are a
me
little
the
more avoidant.
attention.
They're a little more independent. so,
So
it's kind of, you
basically,
can go to them and
they're
I,
fulfilling that other void.
that's
Yep.
my theory, Teal. I
I
don't know
love
if you
it.
agree with it.
I think that's a great theory. But anyways, so basically you want to take on one of these new apps as another
I think we
test
should
run?
take on a couple. Yeah. Which one sounds like the most fun to you? I know you're going to say Tin
Ooh.
Dog, so which sounds like the second most fun to you?
I mean, the beard one, even though it weirds me out, could be really interesting. Just because I think could meet some odd people on there. I don't know. No, I
I
don't think
think
I want to talk about beards. I don't want to talk about beards for the next 3 episodes. The bacon one, the vegan one. What were some of the other ones?
I mean, there's
The
also
animal.
religious ones. We didn't really talk about those.
Oh yeah.
You get
I'd
some.
kind of like to know from our listeners. Could we take a poll in the next week and then make a
I can put a
decision
poll
next
up.
week?
I could put a
Because
poll
I
up
think
after the episode.
I want the listeners to be able to dictate and kind of influence this too.
It would be interesting to go on Tall Friends, even as a short person, and just see if it's full of tall guys, because you'd kind of brush past that problem of height, wouldn't you? Just go, all right,
That's true.
everyone
I
here
didn't
is
even know that existed.
6'2".
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
So,
I mean,
ladies listening, go on to Tall
those
Friends.
tall ladies
apparently.
need an outlet. Yeah, maybe I can test that
Seriously.
one as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got some food for thought here. Teal, shall we move on to our main topic for
Yes,
the day?
let's do it.
Okay, so I want to hear from you. Date stalking. Where is the line? Your client comes to you, she says, okay, Teal, I haven't been on a date with this guy yet. However, I do know his entire family history. I'm aware he doesn't have a criminal record, which is good. I've run his identity through reverse image search on Google, and I've also checked all his credit scores. So I'm thinking he's okay to meet up with a date. What are your thoughts on this? Should you stalk someone before a date? I'm. I'm keen to hear from you first here.
I actually had this exact thing happen, and a woman came to me saying all of these exact same things. And what, in my mind, I was thinking is, this is a red flag about you, not about him. Because to me, it's not allowing us to trust and trust in the flow. And so my long story short is no, we should not be online stalking these men before dating them, I would say, or even going into dating them. The only time I think that is somewhat deemable to be a healthy, somewhat stalking situation would be if you were really getting a bad feeling intuitively about them and you wanted to confirm that bad feeling to make sure that you weren't getting yourself into a dangerous situation. But I think in the front end, if you are automatically going online, and it's tempting, I know, it's right there and all this information, you can find out anything you want about them, but you're taking away so much of the power of just getting to know this person organically.
Yeah.
And you're, in a sense, I think if any of that were to accidentally come out in a conversation where they say, oh yeah, I used to go to veterinary school, and you're like, oh yeah, I know, right? I used to do that too. And they're going to be like, wait, what? How do you know that? Then all of a sudden, you're the weirdo, you're the crazy one, and they're freaked out, right? So we just don't ever need to put ourselves in that situation. But what are your thoughts?
I had a client, what do you think of this? I had a client come to me a couple of weeks ago, and she said, I went on a date, and I did a speech on YouTube that was published a couple of years ago. I think she said, it was for a committee. It wasn't a huge thing. It had 1,000 views or something. And she said the guy had watched almost the whole thing. And this was a first date, and was, pulling from it some things I said. And she said, should I be freaked out by that? What do you think?
Oof. Gosh. It's hard to know without more context, I think, because in a one way, it's kind of sweet. He's like dedicating time and he's really showing a vested interest and he obviously remembers and she's made an impact on him. But on the other hand, it is a little bit on the creepy side that he's kind of remembered all this and he's memorized this and he's now sharing all this and she doesn't really know him at all.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be context of the underlying energy, the dynamic, to really feel into if that's creepy or sweet and endearing.
That's a good point. I definitely leaned more on the creepy side for myself. And it is a good point. If we were wearing rose-colored glasses, we could say, well, look, he was just really into you. I think I lean more on the creepy side because it's kind of the reverse of what you said before. It's if you are confident and trust yourself, wouldn't you want to get to know me from just being around me as opposed to online? And for those listening, I know there's been times, or maybe for some of you listening, I should say, there may have been a time where you say, hang on a minute, Mark, hang on the Teal. I've been scammed before. I've been hurt. I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. I've had terrible online dating experiences. I'll be stuffed if I'm meeting up with someone without doing the research on them. And look, I get it because you don't want to be hurt again. I do, however, agree with Teal. If you are missing things, and this doesn't even just apply on a first date, this actually applies right throughout the relationship. If you're missing someone's wounds and getting hurt, this is a little deep, but it's because your own wounds are blinding you to theirs. You're not seeing something and picking up on something intuitively that you would be if the inner work and inner connection had been done. Mm-hmm. So I think there's no substitute for a woman's intuition, but honestly, even a man's intuition is great as well. And I'd much rather get a vibe for someone in person or even over the phone than figure them out from the internet, because you just get so much more valuable information. Your unconscious is such a wealth of knowledge and it will be able to tell you so much about a person. So yeah, I think it's a real crutch. And again, look, if you've been hurt in the past and you go, Mark, I have no man picker, I'm completely off. It just makes me feel a little safer to do this a few times. Okay, wean yourself off it slowly, do a little less each time and just start to go inwards and say, okay, what am I sensing about this guy? What are my feelings about this guy? What does my gut say? Take away the hope, take away the fears, take away the excitement, take away the dread. Just like, what does your quiet gut say? And if you can get to that answer, I don't think you'll ever need to do any date stalking. Obviously, take usual precautions, meet in public, meet in daylight, that type of stuff, regular dating stuff. But yeah, I'm really with you here, Teal. I think it's a crutch for lost intuition.
Yes, beautifully said, beautifully said. To add on to that, because the internet is what it is, and it is a literal record of every interaction we've ever had online, it might be worth doing your own stalking on yourself and just see what shows up.
How
You can
bad it
actually
is.
do a little bit of cleansing if need be, delete some things if need be, just in case the potential other version stalking on the other side happens. You know, it's interesting too because it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because for our line of work, I find that it works really in my favor, and I find that it's a really beautiful tool. I will have women who've listened to almost every one of my podcast episodes or watched my YouTube videos and know me inside and out, and they talk to me on a phone call and they start reciting all these things that I've said, and I'm like, who are you? I've never met you. This is crazy. And you know everything about me, and you love me already, and I've never met you. But at the same time, I think that's very different for business and marketing and all of that versus actually personally trying to build a connection with somebody.
Yes, I
and
agree.
organize that.
I don't think there's too much more to add there. At the end of the day, your intuition is really going to be your number one tool. And that's always why I say get on the phone. When you hear someone's tonality, when you hear their inflections, when you hear their pausing, when you really stop and be present in the conversation, I think you'll get so much more information from them than doing an internet search. And I really believe that.
Yeah. We do not need to be the crazy girl on this date.
Not to mention, I don't even know how to do that. How do you pull someone's... I don't want to know because I just don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But pulling someone's last name, I guess you reverse image search or something. But it's never... I've never recommended that to a client, and I don't think I ever will.
No. But we would love to know from you, listeners, what crazy, weird other app should we test out maybe for the month of December? Should we do bacon lovers? Should we do tin dog? Should we do vegan vegetarian?
I'll just put Lucy's picture with like a dog's face or something on it. Sorry, I don't own a dog. This is the closest thing I've got. Guys, let us know what you think we should test. If you've got other apps, I'm sure there's crazier ones out there than that. I'd be keen to hear. I'm keen to hear what sort of variety we can come up with. Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Guys, thanks for joining us today. If you want a session with Teal, you can actually book one via the link in the show notes, and the same with myself. Otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure. Teal, thanks for joining me today.
We'll talk soon.
As we will see you next week on the Teal.